If you know what, go make yourself a coffee, grab a blanket, rewind this podcast, and start it over with coffee. Join us, drink along with us. I had 2 cups of this shit, and I'm great.
It's 15.
16.
16.
Episode 16. Take 1, Mark.
It's funny. You take it so seriously.
Hey, it's a slate.
Yeah, I use that as a shtick sometimes. It's just the theatrics of the show. Anyhow,
That's a good way to kick it off. I like it. You have a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Welcome, my friend. Welcome to Artist Talks. Sitting with me today is the one and only Mr. Sathya. He is an Academy Award winner, director, multifaceted actor.
Yeah.
He's written more than 100 shows for, you might know it, HBO Max.
Yeah.
No, but he's a great human being, great artist,
Thank
really
you.
talented director.
Thank you. That's nice to hear someone say that. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I get my fair share. I don't know why I'm talking to the camera. I should be talking to the mic. I never know how to take a compliment ever.
Yeah.
I'm bad at it. So people, if someone tells me that they enjoyed a piece of my work or something, I'm always like, oh well, it wasn't that good. Like I start to get all weird about it.
Why do we do that? I feel like I do that sometimes too. It's like I don't believe you. Sometimes it's like my head telling me, oh, like I know I can do better than that. But sometimes it is.
Ego's not a good look. So, and especially having grown up the way I did around a lot of performers and a lot of actors and stuff, in my own family, we're always trying to find a balance between like understanding your ability and being able to understand and your ability, and also but not being like don't get big headed, don't be an asshole about it.
Balance. I like that word because it's also like, well, you also have to give yourself credit at some point, because if you don't, then you don't have self-love. Yeah,
and I think the way I phrase it too is because I've got this thing where I'm constantly like watching my phrasing very carefully, so that's why sometimes it takes me a long time to finish a sentence. I will phrase it by saying like, oh, that's the one I like the most, or that's my favorite piece of work. I never go, this is my best thing. I always kind of share. It's like in terms of my opinion, this is the one that I think I did the best on or something, and then I start to break it down. I always have to go in and start like critiquing it and stuff like that. I'm a believer in going back and watching your own work, not because you're like, look what I did. No. You know what I mean? But
as an observant, how can I grow?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'll do that every now and then. I'll go look at an old project, even if it's something we hold for car.
Bro, no one cares. Let go of that.
That's what I can't. Well, we're always like hold for plane. Everyone's quiet for like that 30 seconds of.
You got the director right on.
Yeah. Especially when I'm doing sound. The sound people they're always tyrants. If I'm but I haven't boomed in a while. But when I used to, just like everyone's just waiting, staring at me. That's when you have the most power on set.
Yeah. You hold the room.
And but yeah, so like definitely watching your own work. And
it's interesting though, like I want to go back to something you were saying though, and because I do feel like it's important to observe yourself, and it's almost how you sort of find objectiveness to some extent, to being able to look at yourself in the mirror. But you also said something about being mindful with the way we communicate, and it's interesting too, because it's like if we give it too much attention and like we start like questioning every single word we're saying and putting out in the world, it's almost like, okay, are you now super timid and you're not going to talk? And But when you start to put a little bit more mindfulness, you can start to see like the effect that your words have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, because I know that you were saying that in almost in a sense of like, when you set up people for expectations. Oh, bro, you should see this movie. It's like the best movie ever. Yeah. But then they go see it and they're like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
it's your opinion of it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's good to express that, but it's also thinking about like a little deeper things. Like sometimes a lot of people use the word "I can't," or "That's not possible," or "That's too much." Like bringing a little bit of conscience to your language never hurts.
No, for sure. I think it began with, like, it didn't start in the best place. Like for me personally, when it comes to speaking more consciously, just thinking about what you're saying a little bit more. It came from actually stepping on like walking on eggshells. Like I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want to offend anybody because like I won't lie. I have 5-6 years ago I had a sense of humor that was a little more.
Really?
Little more like I was a really big fan of stand-up comedy, and it was a little bit more like, oh, I don't care what you think or if you're offended or whatever. And that's just kind of like, but the thing is, it's just you versus the audience. It's not, I can go into the whole thing, but
right. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So initially it started like that. I was like, I don't want to get in trouble. But then it evolved into finding a healthy balance where I can still be myself, but also just be mindful of other people.
It's the same thing that comes up. And I know this is a topical discussion in certain places, maybe not too much in LA because we've accepted it. Yeah. But like pronouns, they, them.
Yeah.
Like using that. Like I know that my folks, they come from just a more conservative way of life, and it's like growing up in Venezuela. Like we've had a conversation recently about it. And it's like an idea that they're like questioning. It's like it's not as easy to accept for them. Yeah, because they grew up without it, than to us that it's sort of like being incorporated in our social. Yeah. But it's what you're saying too. It's like you do it out of respect.
Yeah, and it's whether and literally just like whether or not. So we grew up with it's part of our generational thing. So we're of course with it and support and everything. But even whether or not you believe in it, whether it's just out of respect.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Out of respect.
Once you're like, I'm not going to change my way of speaking. Like we're not asking you to learn a new language, dude. It's just it's one word actually. When it comes to non-binary, it's one word.
Yeah,
let's go from he, she to they. It's pretty simple. But anyway, that's preaching. We're preaching.
We do a lot of that in this show, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So. Don't worry about it if you let go too much.
No, sure.
Try not to, but it's what it is.
Yeah. Whatever. It looks a show by young people, but for everybody. Yeah. So we don't want to alienate anyone. But just we're preaching our.
But let's go back to what you were saying about observing your work.
Yeah.
And like understanding where to go next.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I don't know if you can elaborate with that.
Elaborate. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, like I'll give you an example. I'll go back and watch like a short film I did in high school, and it was one that to this day I still think in terms of storytelling is one of my favorite pieces that I've done, and it was from 2016. And like so it's a matter of, I don't know, you break it down into like two things. You break it down like creatively in terms of storytelling, but also technical. So technical ability doesn't ever have a dip. I don't think, in terms of if you're doing in any creative field, you're always going to get technically better at what you're doing.
Yeah. Isn't that 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah, you're never going to like maybe there's something you reach a new level and there's like, okay, this is a brand new,
and it feels off at the beginning. Yeah. Maybe it's like, I don't know if I like that, but it's just a new level.
There's a brand new plane of stuff you need to learn, but then you just keep adding it to your repertoire. But you're never going to like you're never. As an editor, I know I'm never going to become a shittier editor on a technical level.
It's impossible.
You can't go backwards. But creatively, since you can't quantify creativity, there could be levels and stuff like that. And it's so subjective, so somebody's best could be someone else's worst.
100%.
So, but...
you were going back to this story, that you were...
But when you're telling... Yeah, so when I was watching this film, I was like, I love the storytelling, and I was like, here's a couple things I could have done better. And also, sometimes as a pick-me-up, it helps just to show that, like, you definitely...
Where you've been and now where you are.
Well, that you're making something, that you're because sometimes it doesn't feel like you're moving forward, especially as a student. And it feels good to just sometimes go back and just remind yourself, like, hey, this is when you were first starting out, and now you're doing this, and then in 15 years you're going to do the same thing. Look 100%. At your old work.
Isn't that crazy though? Like,
yeah.
like you've always been wanting to do this, right? When was like the first time that
the origin story, the Marvel origin story is I was 9 years old. My mom had just rented Jurassic Park.
Okay.
And I watched it at home, and it scared me. I don't think I was actually able to finish the movie as a kid.
All right.
The scene where Samuel Jackson's severed arm falls over Laura Dern's shoulder always used to freak me out, and I had to close my eyes.
What about the bathroom scene? There's isn't there like a bathroom scene with the
the kitchen scene?
Or the kitchen
where the kids are scrambling. That's one of the scariest scenes in cinema history, but it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant scene. And also, so Steven Spielberg was like the guy. He's like, this is the filmmaker that made me want to do it. But I watched the behind the scenes of the Jurassic Park movie. So I watched the documentary, and from there, I decided, I was like, oh, that looks cool. I want to do that. I got signed up in some film classes, like a weekend thing.
This was like, how old were you? 9 years old?
Yeah, 9. So 2008 or so. And that's it. I knew right then. That was like, this is what I'm going to do. I started in animation, like playing with Legos and stuff like that.
Wow.
I used to do a bunch of Lego animation. It was my
favorite
thing. Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
But your mom, you said she was an actor.
Yeah, so
she came up.
Both my parents used to be actors.
Oh.
And then shortly after they moved out here. So my mom's from Argentina. My dad's from Italy.
Wait a second. Yeah. I didn't know the Argentina part.
Yeah.
Wait,
why do you think I randomly throw like Spanish words at you and stuff when we were in class?
Bro, I thought it was like in Italy.
I speak the language.
Damn. Why did I forget this? I feel like we had a conversation about this and
I just forgot. Yeah. But anyway, so she went shortly after moving out here. She became an acting coach, and she's been coaching since then and writing as well.
Still to this day,
she still coaches.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Privately and with schools and stuff right now. I think she's working with LAUSD right now.
Okay.
Doing kind of like an after school program. My dad was an actor. So, yeah, I mean, they never pushed it onto me and my younger brother, but we both just ended up finding it. They took us through all the classes, music, art. I used to paint and draw and sculpt more when I was younger, and then I started doing more about film. And yeah, it was funny. It actually goes even further back. Apparently there's this photograph of me when I was like 4, graduating nursery.
Okay.
And everyone was holding their diplomas, and apparently I had mine rolled up like this.
Oh, look at that.
For the listeners, like an eyepiece.
Like an eyepiece.
And my younger brother apparently always had kind of like rhythm when they would go to those like, music together classes, like when it's like parents with their kids. Mm-hmm. And he ended up, becoming a pianist and a composer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's in school right now.
Damn.
Have him on here. He's
yeah. What school does he go to?
He's at Cal Arts right now for jazz performance.
Fucking A, yeah. Please, I would love to have him. That's amazing. And it's almost like every time I hear those stories, I just have like this little thing that lights up inside that it's like, if we all just like took a second to like go back in our memories and just see and track back your interests in life.
Yeah.
How it's always been there. It's always been there.
Yeah, even if you try to track it back, you're like, it kind of always. I'm trying not to sound pretentious,
no,
but like it always
is true. It is
there.
I feel like deep inside, people listening right now who maybe don't know if maybe they don't have a path right now. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm stuck in this, but deep inside they know. You know what I mean? Like they're walking somewhere.
Yeah, It hits. It hits. I think everybody should have and has, even if they haven't found it, a kind of creative outlet. One of my best friends is a physicist, and they study physics at USC, but they're also visual effects artists. Like they do, not officially, but they play with that.
Yeah. Well, I would even say that being you said he a physicist.
They're a physicist, yes.
Yeah. There's creativity in that too as well, if you think about it.
Oh yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
Even I interviewed like maybe 2 years ago another good friend of mine who is a software engineer.
Okay.
And we interviewed him as a software engineer, but he took us on this whole like journey, just kind of telling us about how what he does is also considered an art. We've interviewed teachers and asked them about how teaching is an art.
Because everything it comes out of, and this is what I keep emphasizing over and over, everything just not claiming that this is the truth. It's just what I keep observing. It's like everything comes from creativity. Everything that we do is it's coming out of. I'm not trying to preach right now, but you know what I mean.
No, sure, but we get a little philosophical. I think everything is a mixture. Like existence is a mixture of like mathematics and creativity, and it's just kind of all meshed together. You can get as technical and as deep into it as you want. Believe me, I had some teachers that did that.
Right.
But or not. But like that kind of is. I think the basis is like
Absolutely. And by the way, do you want more?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing.
I made Sathya some of my delicious creative juice coffee.
Yeah.
This one's from Peru. Mm-hmm. Beautiful bean.
What's the blend called?
Cusco.
Not the blend.
Cusco, because it's from the state of Cusco. But I think it's a single origin, which means it's just sourced from that area.
Have you traveled around South America?
Oh, that's a good one. I have been to Argentina.
Right.
Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
I've been to Bariloche, but as a kid.
Right.
Like we went to.
I have to go. I've never been.
Yeah.
Most of my family's from Buenos Aires.
Okay. Well, you have to visit. Yeah. Colombia has been a big place where I visited. You have to go to Medellin or Bogota.
Yeah.
See that rural area. It's beautiful. The coffee in Medellin is like.
Yeah.
Well, in Colombia in general, it's just. They're known for that. But I've also traveled inland in my country.
Right.
We got some beautiful foresty, like near the Amazons, because we also have part of the Amazons.
Yeah.
There's this park called I just can't. Guamanchi, no, Parque Guamanchi. It's where the waterfall, the Angel Falls.
Right.
It's like the biggest waterfall in the world. It's located in.
See that.
Yeah. No, you should. And then you can stay in this place, and you can camp. There's also this other part where it's another like inhabited area that it's just amazing. And I've told this story many times, but it's just beautiful. It's like me and my friend, we went. I'm trying to remember the name right now. It's just escaping me my head. Maniapure. That's it. Maniapure. Right. It's just like. Basically, a tribe used to live here, and now there's this family who has become friends with the tribe, and now they do this trip ever so often. Right. I think every year, and they go to this part, and it's amazing. But it's very like outside, kind of like doesn't feel like commercial. You know what I mean? It's
that's kind of like. I mean, as fun and as glamorous as it is to travel to Western countries, Italy, France, and have coffee outside, and Italy in La Piazza, just like sipping on, on your coffee, and then, going out for pizza for lunch. But at the same time, you also you just want to, if you go to just other countries that
possess this sort of kind of
that still
space.
that still possess like that. Honestly, just more nature in general, just stuff like that. Like I don't, and it sounds very white privilegey, but I don't want to go to the tourist spots all too much. I mean, sure, some, but also just like some of the smaller, the smaller towns, the smaller cities. And stuff.
It's also where I feel like you remember your core as a human when you go to those places of pure just rawness, pure nature.
And to go there in a least disruptive way as possible.
Absolutely.
To go there as a visitor who wants to expand their horizons and learn a little bit more and just explore. And even when you're going in there, like if we're going to get technical, you stimulate like the local economy there with, like you go to the local businesses. You don't go, if you're going to go to, somewhere in the middle of South America, you're not going to go shopping at Walmart. You go to the local
not
market.
That it even exists, but I know what you mean exactly. And it's the same thing with coming in with respect and also leaving with respect, like taking that with you. And I think you keep it in your life. Talking about that, I just wanted to say that coincidentally, Peru, and especially the regions, I'm not sure, Cusco might be one of the regions where they have this, but it's like, it's a very spiritual land too, and it's known for the spiritual retreats in the middle of like the forest and plain nature. I want to do one of those things eventually. Yeah,
I think there's just this big bucket list that involves traveling for so many of us, especially we had to live out the first part of our 20s in a quarantine, essentially, you know, and also just living under this constant. I'm not saying I'm not no, but I know what I mean. Yeah, I'm not complaining about it just being like, it's a bunch of bullshit. No, but like, you know,
there is almost like
it's an unfortunate circumstance that we have to be.
More water boiling that it's making you want to go and live and move. And
somebody once told me, said there's two things that are worth, like, that will never lose their value or something like that. Shout out to Jose Castro. Okay, he's a family friend of ours, Jose Castro, and a frequent guest on me and my buddy Brock's podcast. Right. He said food and travel. If you can do it, those are the two things that will never lose their value, that are always worth it. Food and travel.
Oh, that.
Because I think food and with travel comes, you know, learning new languages, visiting, you know, like seeing art installations, everything. Culture, so food, just culture. And like, so literally expanding your horizons and just being and exploring the world is like something that's just always going to be worth it.
And I know I'm shifting a little bit of topics,
go ahead, do it.
But I've been wondering and sort of circulating on this question, and it might tie into what we're talking about knowing what you know, like knowing what you want, or knowing for instance, that you always wanted to be a director. But it's like this idea that when you feel like when you're doing something that it's not adding to your life, for instance, Sathya, when you're involved in a job that you honestly do not feel like it's giving what you love, how do you know when to like say, okay, that's it, I need to move into something that really is passionate? Like, when do you feel like you make this? And this happens not only with jobs, but like life decisions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when you know that this is kind of done and you want to move to the next one.
When do you know that you're far away from your dream and closer to it?
Yeah. So it's the whole. Once again, shout out to Jose Castro.
What? Okay.
We talked a lot about this, about the shiny object.
Okay.
In life, where you find that thing that's kind of cool and it's a little bit off your path, and as long as you can kind of find your way back to what you wanted to do, or who knows, maybe it leads to something you want to do completely different. So that's the thing. So I think it's always important to be open-minded, but also understand that if you kind of, this is not your thing, this is not what you want to do for the rest of your life, at some point you got to say, all right, I'm done. And there's a lot of scary factors. I guess the biggest one, especially living in LA, is financial insecurity. Like, I don't want to quit this job because then I can't make money immediately doing it. When in most of the creative fields, you're not going to make any money like at all in the beginning.
Well, you can make that argument for a lot I as well.
Of course, yeah. So
no, but I 100% agree with you. It's like a recurrent topic. Yeah.
But how do I know when to say that's enough? It's happened a lot for me. It's not something I feel like I can explain. Just there are times where I'm like, that's it. Sometimes circumstantially it just happens. A job ends.
Literally. Just like the universe just goes, hey, this is it. That's a path.
Yeah. That happened with me a couple times. And it was done. And I was like, that was fun. I'm going to try the new one. I was a podcast editor for 2 years for other podcasts. And
wow.
It was fun and it paid well. But after a while, it sort of ended, and there was different circumstances that factored in, like time and money and things like that, but that's all boring shit.
But were you being, I mean, because here's the thing though, like, even though you don't want to be a podcast editor for the rest of your life, was it filling you though? If it was, then maybe that was part of your journey.
Well, that's the thing, like, it wasn't, I learned a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't mind-numbingly boring. And I understand that some people are in some positions where they have to, because like you can't. The world is closing in on them, and they've got to work something that they're not interested in doing.
And now we're just using the example of like jobs, but I mean having like life decisions. Like, how do you know when a friendship is not it's turning toxic? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then how do you like? Because I feel like we have an inner compass, right? Like, we have an inner little thing that goes, beep, 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 beep. Okay, something's not... Wait a minute. Why did this person just say that? why is that not making me feel right? Like, your intuition is very wise. And sometimes you end up proving your intuition right when that person ends up doing something and you're like, fuck.
So, I mean, yeah. In my personal life, I don't think I've had a friendship where I was like, that's it, we're done.
No,
don't talk
not
to
like
me anymore.
that,
but there are things that they just fall off. I think most of the time, especially when it comes to friendships and relationships and stuff like that, if you're gonna if it's reaching a point like you mentioned where it's over, a lot of the time, if you just sometimes it just falls off, and if that person kind of feels the same way, then you're just not going to talk again, right? Or I think,
or comes back, right? Like,
yeah, or if they keep coming back, well, then you got to turn around and say stop, you know.
Or I also mean, like, isn't like you were close friends,
yeah. Or no, that happens too. So you tend to reconnect. Some of the people I was closest with in elementary school, I fell off with a lot in high school and beginning of college, and now we are tighter than ever.
Isn't that crazy too, right? And it almost sort of like organically happens.
It does happen. I mean, in my personal life, it's just happened really organically. It's just it's circumstantial. I think because I was, this is actually when people ask me, like, are you religious or something like that? And this will tie in.
Well, let's talk.
I say, like, I'm not really, but I'm not atheist. I just kind of, I don't know. I have things I subscribe to, things I like, ideas that I like.
You have a spirituality.
Sure.
Everyone has one. Like, I feel like people, I'm getting preachy. I always get preachy at this point because it hits me right in the nail. It's like, damn. Yeah, I want to hear more. I want to hear more about that.
Well, because I was raised. So look, if you like walk through my house, you're going to see a tiny little old 70-year-old picture of Mother Mary next to a statuette of
Buddha,
the Chinese Buddha. But then there's the Tibetan Buddha sitting on the window. But then there's Ganesha outside our door. But then there's Zeus somewhere in our hallway. And then above the television there's a mermaid. And then in my mother's bedroom there's a dragon. Like, what I mean?
Yeah, because you mentioned your mom was she was a lot into what do you call it? So
my mom, when she was 21, just packed up, left Argentina. She grew up there during, I don't remember which dictatorship, but it was rough. During the disappeared era, where people were getting picked up off the streets. So she packed up and left and traveled to India and lived there on and off for like 7 years, and and did service there. And that's kind of where she was always spiritual. I think that came from her dad, who I never got to meet, but it kind of opened her up, and she experienced a bunch of different cultures, and then she raised me and my brother just kind of like everything. I don't know, everything.
Yeah, everything she picked up along the way, she brought it to you.
Yeah, so that ties in to the original point in saying that both of us are able to let go pretty easily. Like, we're not very, especially, actually, this is a big thing when it comes to death.
Oh, wow.
The grieving, I've never had anyone super, super, super close to me die other than pets. But the grieving process is usually, of course, you feel what you need to feel. And then usually just comes that understanding. The acceptance just comes a little bit faster. And especially when it comes to dogs specifically, I get devastated when when a dog dies, when one of my pets dies. But then you kind of reach this point where you're like, on to rescue the next one. Like, you're almost like you want, that's because we always would pick them up from shelters. So like, let's grab another one. That's not to replace, but like, it needs a home.
Yeah.
There's just this ability to let go. I've known a lot of people, who are in my age, and then parents of friends who've passed away, and you just, I don't know, you kind of accept that it happened. The acceptance comes really fast. It's just a part of life, and I don't think it's this blasé, not caring attitude.
No, it's almost like maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it may be a deeper understanding that it's not death, that life is not over.
Yeah, no,
or like that our soul is living on.
Yeah, sure. I like the idea of reincarnation. I like that one a lot.
And you know what? It's pretty, like, if you really read into it, it's not crazy to really think about it.
I want to come back as a motherfucking dolphin. Like,
No, but even the idea that you come back and, like, that you've lived many lives. I don't know, in different realms or whatever.
100%. I don't want to get it wrong, but I believe in the I don't know if it might be the Hindu religion. There's like almost a list, like a hierarchy of the animals that you go down.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's fascinating to me.
It's also not like it didn't come out of nowhere. Like if you think about it, it's not like someday one guy was bored and was like, let's make this up.
Yeah.
I mean, there might have been a lot of patterns over and over, maybe, in that philosophy was built out of somewhere, right? I mean, I think at least it has a purpose.
Yeah.
To exist, right? Great. Thank you for indulging me there. I do, since we're on this realm of like thinking about our spirituality and thinking about our paths and how do we know we're in our path or not in our path.
Yeah.
There's this idea about, there's a lot of things going on right now. And I don't think I'll ever stop saying that. Like people will ever stop saying. There's
a lot of things going on.
There
right
will
now.
always
going to be 100
war.
years ago. They're saying a lot of things going on right now.
If it's not on the Western Hemisphere, it's on this hemisphere. It's it's gonna keep going, right?
It's on fire. It's all on fire.
It's all on fire, and maybe right now things feel like they're a little more on fire than they have.
Yeah.
Some people think that making art right now or expressing ourselves creatively might be useless. I want to hear what you think. I mean, I already see your face.
No,
but tell me why don't you think making art is useless?
So the arts will never be meaningless ever. They've been to people. People have died over the arts. Famous Italian director Pasolini was assassinated because of the films he made back in the 70s.
What? Tell me, I didn't know that.
He wouldn't have to watch more of his movies, so I'm not a historian on this. Yeah. But he would make films that called out the Catholic Church a lot and just like call out, like, he made films that just kind of called out society.
Very controversial.
A lot of controversial films, and someone killed him over it.
Fucking A.
And so, but that's an extreme example.
Yeah.
But the maybe less so with commercialism and stuff like that, but the arts have always been a reflection of.
No, and yeah, when I'm talking art, it's important that we clarify too right now what our definition of art is. I mean, this is an evolving definition, but for the sake of this conversation, art, we're talking about something that comes from the heart, comes from love, comes with the intention to push culture forward.
Yeah, it's always been about it's always been about sharing your perspective on life and society and stuff like that. And you can make really strong, blatant messages with your artwork, or you can go more subtle. And then they evolve. I mean, like the whole thing about for example, I guess a more now commercial, but then probably not as popular. But Stan Lee creating the X-Men, like that was it's a metaphor for the civil rights movement in the 60s.
Wait, Stanley Kubrick?
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee. Yeah. With the X-Men is a fucking... Wait a fucking second. That makes so much sense. The mutant thing.
All the politics in the films are about, we don't like mutants. It's all about segregation. And not even then, there was, the eugenics thing, I believe, in some of the movies and stuff like that. I watched the movies. I didn't read the books. But no,
100%. But holy shit, yeah.
That's an example that now has been super commercial. Yeah. But even at its very origins, there's always going to be someone offering a perspective in general, as abstract or as literal as it may get.
But then and that's the thing too, like it's almost like, some people think right now that offering perspective won't have a change or won't do a material impact. But then the other day I'm like driving through the road, for instance, I'm going through Santa Monica Boulevard, and literally on the street, there's like iconography from fucking the movie.
Which one?
Tin Man.
Oh,
damn it!
Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Yes. Yeah. A movie that was made like years ago. There's
always gonna be super influential.
Yeah, and I mean that's just one little example. Like there's hundreds of other millions of examples that have affected the way we even think.
And we are on a this happens. I certainly don't. Again, while we have certainly made a lot of strides, there's still a lot of stuff to keep 100%. Going. We're still very 100%. Far behind socially when it comes to filmmaking. But take someone this had been done before. I don't think I have any specific examples in my head, but take someone like Jordan Peele who makes a film, Get Out, which was groundbreaking in the sense that it brought up a lot of important social issues through horror and comedy and through just an all-around great movie.
Yeah.
That's the other important thing. So this is something that so you can someone had phrased it really well. Don't sacrifice you don't settle for mediocrity in the name of socially pushing forward, because then it's not going to land. So you can have maybe the most diverse cast in the world, but if the film or TV show is awful, you're not gonna get your message across, because people are just gonna be thinking, what a piece of shit. So it's always push your message forward, and also make it good.
Yeah, make it good. 100%. No, but it's also making me think of if you care about something, even though people don't believe in it, push it, make it, perfect it, and over time, it's almost I have this fresh in my mind. I just watched the Kanye West documentary.
I have to see it. Is that a Netflix one?
Yeah, bro. It's 3 episodes. It's fucking amazing.
Really?
I don't want to say more than that. Just what it's broken up in 3 episodes, and each episode it's for instance, the first episode it's vision. It's about the vision.
Sure.
Second episode it's about purpose. Third episode it's about awakening.
Okay.
And it goes through this sort of a life journey, and it shows a lot of his faces. But why I'm bringing it up is because he had an idea. He had a vision. He followed through that vision, and that vision had an impact. I would say a positive impact to a certain extent to how we approach culture later on. I mean, I'm not saying what he's doing right now or whatever. I'm just talking in its due moment, right before especially when people didn't believe in him, when it was a lot of just backfiring on him, and he had the sort of the persistence to just keep and believe into this idea and this album, and that's when he released. Hope I'm not spoiling too much, but when released College Dropout, then that album went on to just do amazing things.
With him, it's the whole that's the argument. Do you separate the art from the artist? That argument starts to pop up a lot. I don't really want to go into it because it's
another conversation,
big fucking conversation.
Yeah.
The way I see it is as someone, if you're a celebrity or something like that, you're not accountable you shouldn't be held accountable to being an angel, but at the same time, don't be an asshole.
Right.
Don't be terrible.
I mentioned this in one of my podcasts in Spanish, and we were talking about this. Shout out to Goose. We were saying that at the beginning, if you have a vision, you should stick to that vision, and at some point you should surrender that vision once. You shouldn't become a mogul or become a Kaiser on the vision and try to appropriate, because that's when you get very egoic and almost pretentious and this whatever shit. Yeah. And that's when you start questioning who's the artist. But if you have a well-intended idea, believe in it until it's time to surrender that idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this whole deal, I mean, obviously what he's doing is not okay. It's shitty, and it's inexcusable behavior. I think the only the thing, because a lot of people have told me oh dude, you're not going to listen to his music because of that, and I go, look, it's a gray area. There are some artists where I'm I don't really, I'll listen to a few things, but I'm not going to start following you intently if you continuously keep doubling down on all of the messed up stuff you do. There's people that have made mistakes, and you gotta accept people that keep mistakes. And you gotta accept them.
We're not perfect. We're humans. And if you every time you're saying no, you guys are wrong. I got the vision. Right. You guys are. Then I'm what the fuck are you?
If you keep doubling down, and I'm all right, well, you lost me. That's the whole thing. And look, like I said, it's it's some of the issues, of course, are very black and white. You did something absolutely, fuck yes. I mean, previously the directors who have assaulted actresses and producers and stuff like that. That's
pretty dead clear.
That's pretty clear. That's and yeah, I don't know. It's a whole conversation. It's a lot to go into.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of discussion on that. I'll just put it this way: it's clear. Usually, it's very clear on a wide scale when someone fucks up and continues to fuck up and doesn't want to admit that they fucked up.
Yeah, and where the intentions are coming from too.
And
because a lot of the times when let's now shift a little bit, but like when we make, we mess up in life, or we just are going through a learning experience, we can also, like, if we really start to reflect on things, like, we can also know what were our intentions then or not there. Like, obviously sometimes you do, like, it's a problem, it's an accident. It's like you cursed at someone, but or I don't know, that's maybe too clear, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't know you were hurting someone, you know what I mean? But then you found out you were actually hurting someone, but you didn't know up until later that person brought it up to you.
And
then knowing how to say.
The thing is, what just seems like people don't do much these days, and it's a very simple thing to do, is say, "I'm sorry." You apologize because because there's this whole thing about, like, no, I'm going to stick to my principles or whatever. Sure, you can stick to your principles, but do you not feel bad about having hurt someone else's feelings?
Yeah.
Maybe you're not sorry for what you said, but you're sorry you hurt that person, right? Yeah. Or maybe you're a goddamn psychopath. But, like, that's the other thing.
Absolutely.
And
and just letting your ego go and say, I'm sorry. Generally,
that's the thing. Is just
it's a controversial topic to go into as well, because on the other side of the spectrum, a lot of people say, "I'm sorry" too much, and it's almost like then
it becomes meaningless.
Right.
It's not only I'm sorry, it's I'm sorry, I'm going to do better. And then you do better.
Exactly. It's taking accountability.
Yeah.
Understanding your actions and knowing how to, or at least trying, like, at least I'm trying to be better. Maybe I'm not just going from A to B right away, but I'm trying,
You're working on it. Yeah.
I'm doing my best.
There's steps. People,
absolutely.
I think I think it's a very popular belief, because it's what we learned in school, is that, nobody's perfect, and then, you learn, and then you've got folks that just refuse to learn. But that's all.
But then eventually you learn, dude. Honestly, like, I don't think anyone goes through life.
You will learn the hard way. If you refuse to be open to it, you're gonna learn the hard way. And
100%. Life's gonna teach you either way.
Yeah, it's gonna kick you in the ass. Yeah. But that's so dark. That's so dark. What else we got?
Yeah, what else we got? You're right. We went into a little hole. We got out of the hole. Thank you for coming with us. Yeah. And we are back. No, Sathya, I like doing this thing in the podcast where I always like my guests.
I'm gonna have to improv with you or something, or what?
Yeah. No. Actually, you're actually the apple doesn't fall from the tree. Yeah. I always like doing something creative.
Okay.
So it's up to you where we go. Like, we could.
Man.
I mean, we don't have a camera. We could show one of your shorts towards the end, or we could. Maybe we could record a short and then show it right now. Or we could do an improv, or we could do a spoken word. Well, I don't know. What are you thinking? Give me ideas. Cause I don't know.
Okay. I'm always happy to share a piece of my work, because that's the goal. I want people to see it. That's the goal you want, because if I get on my soapbox again, art is for the people. So you want people to see it. I mean, you do it for you, but if you do it entirely for you, it becomes an
ego project.
In harsh terms, from someone I know, it becomes a creative jerk off, where you're just
masturbating.
Yeah, you're just doing it. It's all for you, and you're just done. That's like when you get up there, especially on a stage or something, and you're doing something. If the audience is not it's totally okay to confuse your audience and take them on a journey.
Yeah.
But if by the end of the show they're like, yeah, I have no opinion on it because I have no idea what I just watched, that's the worst thing. I'd rather have somebody walk out of a project of mine saying that's the worst fucking thing I've ever seen, and then give 30 reasons why, instead of walking out and just be like, oh.
Wasn't nothing. I think it comes back to, not to get back into that topic, but it's also like it's intentions though. Like, because when someone tries to do something and it ends up being confusing, but it came from a place of I was intending to like really just help people or just really do something, sure. I mean, there's value. I think that you get something from it. But when it comes out of like, I just want to show off.
Yeah. No,
it comes off like that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people like to shoot for, because this is a realm that is not traditional, that's not explored in the mainstream, is abstraction in any form, in any sense of, maybe not painting, because abstract painting's pretty big. I love abstract art.
Yeah, I love making abstract art.
If you like, see right there, I'm still looking at your. that's pretty. Did you make that?
Oh, we kind of all a group of people came over and we did that just for fun.
I like that. That's really nice. I like the colors there. So, but like people making. It's just in the name of abstraction. Like if you have no idea, if you're like, oh, I'm just gonna put this there and put this there and put that there. I'm gonna get on stage and I'm gonna scream for 5 minutes straight. Like, doesn't mean something. It's and even, and you can attach meaning to it, like pseudo meaning. You can just kind of make some
after
shit
it
up.
Or before.
Even after, if somebody asks, so what did that mean? But it doesn't. I don't know. It's just like it's got to come from somewhere. You take some of the most abstract filmmakers. It's got to mean something. So these two directors are two of my favorite directors of all time. They're called the Daniels. It's a duo.
The Daniels, okay, no?
Yeah, Daniels. So it's Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. And they made a bunch of music videos and short films that are up on Vimeo. But then they made one film with Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano called Swiss Army Man.
Dude, I was just thinking about Paul Dano right now.
Yeah, so it's a great movie.
And I haven't seen that movie, but I've heard about it. It's really good?
Yeah, I love it. Wow. And it's abstract. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. But ultimately will leave you in tears. It has one of the most, it has a very beautiful message. And they just made a new movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Is it out now?
I think it comes out today, actually, here in a couple theaters.
Awesome.
With Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Ke Huy Quan, who was Short Round in the second Indiana Jones, most famously.
Whoa.
So a little boy from that. He was doing martial arts and stunt work up until now, and now he's in this movie again. And all the reviews say it's the weirdest, craziest thing they've ever seen. They literally laugh and they cry, and it's probably this very abstract, maybe not too grounded in reality piece of work because it's about the multiverse. But I'm sure it's amazing. I'm sure it has a bunch of things to say. I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it.
Remind me of the name, just for
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. Awesome. I'll check it out. All right, Sathya. We'll send us off with. Are you gonna send us off with a short film then?
I guess I can. I'll have to pick something when I get home after this.
Send me something. It could be short, like whatever, or a snippet, or tell us where you can.
I can show you a clip. Yeah, I will do a little self plug. But and here's a clip from. And then you just dub whatever. Just take the voiceover on the.
It's okay. I'll just put it after.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. I'll send you a clip.
Sounds good.
For your listeners, it might be a little difficult. It's without dialogue.
I like that. I like that because that means if you're listening to this, you got to check it out on YouTube.
Yeah.
See it
yeah, I mean, look, if I only got one small shameless self-plug here, it's not for... my friend Brock Berenson, who is a sound designer and recorder, him and I have another podcast called... It's similar to this one, called So You're an Artist, ... which, again, you're more than welcome to join. As soon as he gets back in town, we're going to set you up for an interview.
Awesome.
Where we talk to creatives of all kinds. We want to highlight independent artists, and sometimes we talk to people who've been... So it's our mixture of highlighting artists who are just starting out, and people like you and me who who are just trying to break into the world, and then seasoned creatives who've been doing it their entire lives. And whether... Also, if they're like, people who are typically in front of the camera or on stage or whatever level of fame as well, it doesn't really matter.
It's not about that.
It's not. So we just talk to everybody. We've talked to fellow podcasters. So that podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts.
Awesome.
Folks,
say that again.
Check it out. So You're an Artist.
So You're an Artist.
Available anywhere you get your podcast, except for YouTube. It's an audio-only podcast.
Amazing. Well, Sathya, I want to thank you.
Dude, this was so much fun.
No.
I hope you. I think I said before we started recording, I don't generally get interviewed. I do the interviewing myself. So this was interesting to be able to share some thoughts.
Amazing. Thank you for trying my coffee as well.
Your coffee was amazing.
Yeah. Everyone, We're gonna get there soon. I want to set up a coffee shop so everyone can try it.
Please set up a coffee shop.
It's for artists and for people. Yeah.
If you know what, go make yourself a coffee, grab a blanket, rewind this podcast, and start it over with coffee. Join us, drink along with us. I had 2 cups of this shit, and I'm great. I'm feeling fantastic.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you, bro.
All right,
appreciate it. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. And now, a little teaser trailer from an upcoming project of Satya's called Hen.